Can he do it? Yes, he's done it. A brilliant move there.
Yes, pole position.
He is the driver that outqualified Ayrton Senna in his first race with McLaren, ended up critically injured after a horror crash, and won 2 back-to-back Formula One championships after his comeback. A driver that was cool, determined, and had the nickname the Flying Finn. This legend is Mika Häkkinen, a driver coming from a modest family, had unlimited self-belief, and is the greatest rival of Michael Schumacher. To understand how Mika became a back-to-back Formula One world champion, we have to go back to 1973. The young Finn comes from humble beginnings, being born in Vantaa, Finland. His father worked multiple jobs as a shortwave radio operator and part-time taxi driver. His mother was a secretary. Mika and his sister Nina grew up in a small apartment, but they lacked nothing. At the age of 5, his parents rented a go-kart for him at the local track. He crashed on his first lap, but wished to continue racing. 1 year later, Father Harry bought him his first go-kart, a second-hand one that had to do the job. He drove the kart relentlessly and won his first race at Kimola Motor Stadium in 1975 at the age of 7. The track was his home Grand Prix, as it was also located in Vantaa. He went on racing and won the Kimola Club Championship in 1978 and 1979. Mika became a quick karter, and the whole family, including his sister, Nina, went racing for fun. They all traveled in a minibus as a team to races. At the age of 12, the young Finn reached the minimum racing age. Not long after that, he won his first championship, the Swedish Lapland Cup. But that was just the start. In 1981, he won the Finnish Karting Championship. The next year, he came second, but won the Ronnie Peterson Memorial event. He moved classes the following season and won the Formula Nordic on his first attempt. He became consistent and often won against older and more experienced drivers. By 1986, he won the Formula Nordic 3 consecutive times and competed in Europe. He still traveled around with his parents in their minibus. To help with the funding of his career, he started working at the bicycle shop of his friend. His parents always taught him that you have to work hard if you want to achieve something. But he wasn't only focused on racing. Young Mika finished elementary school and enrolled in a metalworking course. He even did brief training as an acrobat at a circus school. Later, he abandoned school to pursue his racing career. It was time to move to open-wheel racing in 1987. Formula Ford was his target. He bought a second-hand Reynard car from local racing hero, J.J. Leto. He conquered Scandinavia driving around in his old bus. Not only that, but he won the Swedish, Finnish, and Scandinavian championships. It was his first attempt, and he took 9 wins across all the series. It was around that time he met former Formula One champion and fellow Finn, Keke Rosberg. He became his manager. Rosberg was crucial in securing sponsorships and guiding his protege to the top of motorsport. They secured a partnership with Marlboro after a test at Donington. At the age of 20, he joined the GM Vauxhall Lotus Challenge as a Marlboro driver. With 3 race wins, he finished as runner-up in the championship behind Alan McNish. He achieved this despite going home for his national service. It was hard to combine, but he made it work. Later, he competed in the Opel Lotus EDFA Euro Series. With 4 wins and 126 points, he won the championship. He and McNish were teammates, traveled around Europe together, and wandered around the Formula One paddock. It was time for a new challenge. Mika stayed with his team Dragon Racing, joined Formula 3, and it went terribly. The team and the driver didn't have any F3 knowledge. He had a new chassis, a new engine, but nothing worked. He still had self-belief, but nobody told him everything will be fine. They told him he better go back to Finland. Marlboro wanted to find out if it was Mika who lost it or the car. He joined the West Surrey team, where his former teammate McNish had won a lot. He drove the Super Prix at Brands Hatch, pole position. He won the race and set a new Formula 3 lap record. He definitely didn't lose it. In 1990, he did another season in Formula 3, won the championship by 23 points, beat fellow Finn Mika Salo, and was very consistent. The team took him for a guest appearance in Imola and Hockenheim. He won them both. In Germany, it was his first encounter with his later rival, Michael Schumacher. But that didn't overshadow his career. In matter of fact, in 1991, at the age of 24, Mika Häkkinen became a Formula 1 driver. And who made that possible? Keke Rosberg. The ex-world champion used his experience, Mika his impressive junior career, and the Marlboro sponsorship to secure a seat. Mika tested with Benetton. He didn't fit in the car, could barely reach the clutch, but he instantly felt at home. Precise steering, instant throttle response, and the car reacted exactly to his steering input. He knew this is what he was made for. He was quicker than their main driver, Alessandro Nannini, but he didn't receive an offer. Therefore, they decided to sign with Lotus. The team wasn't what it used to be. Tight funds and old engines, but Häkkinen proved his worth. He qualified 13th for his first race, became 5th in his third race at San Marino, and secured his first 2 Formula 1 points. The season was marked by 16 races, and he retired in 7. He learned a lot about Formula 1 in general, how you work with the people around you, communicate with sponsors, and deal with setbacks. His second season was way better. Not only did the Finn make a leap in performance, so did his team. A new engine, and later in that season, a new chassis made this possible. 16 races, 6-point finishes, and 2 fourth places made him finish 5th in the championship. They still had reliability issues with another 6 retirements, which made him lose out on a podium at Suzuka. However, Mika Häkkinen was seeking a more competitive team, and so his manager went to work. They negotiated a contract with Williams, who were a top team at the time, but Lotus owner Peter Collins wasn't amused. He tried to block the deal, downplayed Häkkinen's abilities, and claimed they already had a contract for 1993. In those years, every team needed to agree for a team to compete in Formula 1, a golden opportunity for the Lotus owner. He told Williams, who were late in registration, that if they signed the young Finn, he wouldn't give his sign of approval for Williams to race in Formula 1. The deal collapsed. Rosberg went to Ron Dennis, McLaren's team principal. Remember the sponsorship Mika Häkkinen secured around 1990? His trail was in front of Ron Dennis. An arrangement was made and negotiations started. It wasn't certain that Ayrton Senna could be retained, and therefore they needed a backup. A contract negotiation at the airport, a legal battle with Lotus owner Peter Collins, and a 2-day trial at the Formula 1 Contract Recognition Board later, Mika Häkkinen was a McLaren driver. But it was Senna that returned, with Michael Andretti signed as a driver and Mika being demoted to a reserve and testing driver role. Everyone said it was the wrong move. His parents told him, "Now you're just a test driver." But he kept faith. Andretti's Formula 1 adventure wasn't a success, and with 3 races left, the Finnish driver made his debut with McLaren. At the circuit of Estoril in Portugal, he faced the master himself, Ayrton Senna. It was his first qualifying session, and he out-qualified the Brazilian, something that didn't happen often. Unfortunately, he crashed out of the race. He tried to overtake but lost downforce.
He's lost his front downforce. Watch some tyres. The car goes up in the air as he hits.
In Japan, he qualified 8th but achieved his first podium. The last Grand Prix, he had a brake pipe failure. It was enough for him to secure a 3-year contract as McLaren's future star. In 1994, he became the #1 driver after Senna left for Williams. He partnered up with Martin Brundle and they got a new engine, a terrible Peugeot one. I always make jokes about French cars and reliability. Well, there wasn't any of that. Besides the issues, he scored a 2nd and 5 third places. He became a regular podium finisher, but also was too aggressive. A last-lap collision at the British Grand Prix got him a suspended 1-race ban. Later that season, it was activated. People told him to relax a bit more, and so he did, which he regrets later on in his career. Another new engine in 1995, this time a Mercedes one, but once again, reliability issues played a major role. He was often the fastest driver outside the dominant teams, and coming off a 2nd place in Japan, he had a strong season end. But on November 10th, 1995, the final race of the season at Adelaide, everything went wrong. Häkkinen crashed out at Brewery Bend, the fastest corner, at 200 km/h. A left rear tire puncture from debris was the cause of it. He went into the tire barrier. The concrete wall behind shifted back a foot. His head smashed into his steering wheel and bounced around the cockpit. The steering wheel was broken and the buttons left holes in his helmet. Mika remembers being in the wall. He couldn't move his legs and arms lost focus. He said to himself, "Okay, relax, don't fight, don't panic, everything is going to be okay." After that, he lost consciousness and remembers nothing. The medical team arrived. He was unresponsive. He had a blocked airway and internal bleeding. An emergency tracheotomy was needed as he started to turn blue. They restarted his heart twice. He was rushed into the Royal Adelaide Hospital. He stayed in a coma for several days and stayed 5 weeks in the hospital. A fractured skull and nerve damage to his face caused temporary paralysis. He asked himself if he could ever live normally again. Racing wasn't on his mind. A long recovery was the result of it, a mental and physical torture. However, Mika progressed quickly. His doctor told him he could do a Formula 1 test. He still had problems with his face and his hearing, but he went for it and travelled to Paul Ricard. On Monday, the 5th of February, 87 days after his accident, the Finn was back in a Formula 1 car. His mechanics looked at him and thought he couldn't do it. But one thing wasn't damaged: his self-belief. He managed to do 63 laps and was half a second faster than Schumacher's Ferrari. He told the mechanics, "Pack up the car, I'll see you in Melbourne." An unbelievable story if you ask me. The season started in Australia, a new circuit, but it's still the country where everything went wrong. He finished 5th in his comeback race. With 4 podiums, 11-point finishes, and 5th place in the driver standings, he beat his new teammate, David Coulthard. He proved he didn't lose it. He was longing for his first race win, but the first 2 wins of McLaren in 1997 went to Coulthard. He led at Silverstone and his engine blew up, led at Monza, but he had a tyre problem, led the race at Nürburgring, but a late engine failure took his first race win away. He won at Jerez in 1997, a historic Grand Prix because of that battle between Schumacher and Villeneuve. It wasn't a win because of his driving, but he took the gift. It took him 99 races to finally win. The improved McLaren of 1997 tasted sweet, but in 1998 it became even better. They had a title-challenging car because of Adrian Newey, the greatest designer of all time. That season produced a title battle between his junior series rival and himself. It was Michael Schumacher versus Mika Häkkinen, my very first title battle that I followed closely with my dad. Schumacher won 6 races, Häkkinen 8, 9 poles for Mika, just 3 for Michael. Both drivers went head-to-head, dominated multiple Grand Prix, and stayed close to each other. A mid-season charge from Schumacher, an improved Ferrari, and once again reliability issues made it a last race decider. The Finnish driver won the last race of the season at Japan. His championship contender retired from that Grand Prix. He became the 1998 Formula 1 champion, the second Finnish driver to do so. The first, his old manager, Keke Rosberg. The 1999 season was turbulent and dramatic. High tension, major setbacks, and again a fierce rivalry with Michael Schumacher. The regulations changed a bit and the car was more on the limit. A mechanical failure at the first race, dominant win at Brazil, but crashing out from a 13-second lead at San Marino marked a bumpy start. 2 podiums, 2 victories, and another mechanical failure followed. His rival crashed and broke his leg, which should have been a title decider. But that wasn't the case. Collisions, mistakes, and his new title challenger, Ferrari's Eddie Irvine, almost took the title from him. It was again a last race decider, and luckily for Mika, he won. He wasn't someone that showed a lot of emotions. Later, he admitted that those 2 title-winning years were a lot of pressure, and he still wasn't recovered from his accident, not even after 4 years. Headaches, being exhausted, and a feeling of not being able to handle it anymore all played a part. However, he came back strong in 2000. He battled again with Schumacher for the title. Mika prepared himself over the winter with a lot of physical work. It was again a long season, with both drivers going head-to-head. Multiple retirements in the opening rounds, a battle for the lead at the Nürburgring, and a technical infringement in Austria. At the Grand Prix of Hungary, Häkkinen gained the championship lead from Schumacher. But the real highlight that season? Spa 2000, one of Formula 1's finest battles. Both drivers were battling for the lead. With the Finn approaching fast, the German driver pushed him multiple times onto the grass. However, that wasn't the end of the battle. On the straight after Eau Rouge, they met with a backmarker. It was Schumacher who moved right and pushed the back marker towards Häkkinen on the left. This could have been a major crash with speeds of up to 300 km/h. The flying Finn made it stick and overtook both cars, a big move. But it wasn't enough. The 2000 title went to Schumacher, with Häkkinen being the runner-up. An engine failure in the USA and multiple second places made him lose out on his third consecutive title. Mika signed a new deal for 2001. He was determined to regain the championship, not only because he felt he could still do it, but also because he just became a father. He wanted to do it for his son, Hugo. It didn't go as planned. He still showed his speed, but again, reliability played a big part. However, that wasn't the biggest reason his title challenge didn't work out. Another major crash was. At the season opening in Australia, Mika had another 280 km/h shunt. While running in second, his front suspension collapsed and he was totally out of control. He went straight into the barriers, crash marks on his helmet, blood in his mouth, and the thought, "Is this worth it?" raised his head. As soon as that happens, questions come into your mind as a racing driver. It's over. You can't race on motivation alone. You have to feel that you really want it, willing to die in the cockpit. Mika, well, he didn't have that feeling anymore. He told Ron Dennis that he was getting tired, he couldn't do it anymore. Ron Dennis didn't want to lose his championship-winning driver. He told him to take a year off, so he did. His replacement was another Finn, Kimi Häkkinen. His team principal asked Mika which driver he should sign. The legendary words of Häkkinen were, "If you want to win, sign the Finn," an all-time classic. The Flying Finn never returned to Formula One. 9 months into his sabbatical, he announced that he'd be retiring from the sport. It wasn't only about his family. He later revealed that the crash of 1995, the big crash in 2001, and all his achievements made him realize he didn't want to push his luck further. Häkkinen did some rallying, a few seasons of DTM, and rumors circulated about a Formula One comeback. He never did that because his reaction time was slower, his eyesight worse, and the occasional headaches from his major crash in 1995 kept showing up. While a lot of Formula One drivers are remembered, Mika Häkkinen is quite often forgotten. People don't mention him in conversations about who is the best driver, but the facts are there. The Finn is a double world champion. If it wasn't for all the reliability issues, I do think he would have won more. But ifs bring you nothing. For me, Häkkinen is one of the greatest. His focus on the sport, impressive comeback from a nearly fatal crash, and the battles with Schumacher are the reason for that. I like to remember him as the Flying Finn that came back and proved his worth. One of the few drivers that really battled Schumacher and earned his respect. But by now, you're probably so invested in Finnish drivers that you'll just have to watch my video about Kimi Häkkinen, the driver that came from nothing, did only one junior series, and to this day is the last Ferrari world champion.